Here's my Sony model ICF-9740. I made a video of this, quick video showing when I first got it off of eBay, and I showed how it more or less worked, and I think I cleaned the controller too. But right after I made the video, I was using the radio, and I don't know if you can see in the camera here, I might be putting a shadow in it. As I tune the dial, the indicator stops moving. Right about there, even though it'll keep tuning. The radio will tune fine. You can find a station, you just don't know what station you're on. So something's going on with that indicator, and I guess I'll pull it apart and see if I can fix it. Alright, on the back here, it looks like there's just 3 screws to remove up top, and then this back panel kind of fits in the bottom. Looks like there might be a tab in this and a groove kind of in the bottom. Alright, as I said, I pulled out those 3 screws, and I'm going to lift this off and see what's inside. And it actually doesn't look like there's a whole lot. Just one big speaker here and a circuit board, and the tuning mechanism is behind the board here, it looks. So it looks like in order to really see what's going on, I'm going to have to pull that circuit board out of there. And it looks like, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. With the 4 screws out, it looks like the board can just pull straight up. There's a couple of switch grabbers here that you just need to be careful of, and then it comes up. Of course, there's a lot of wires hooked to this thing that are just soldered in. There's no connectors, so we can't really move it that much without unsoldering wires, but I think I can get in there and show. The dial string mechanism is all separate from the board, which is nice. This wheel might not be real apparent in the camera, is kind of gear driven on the inside. It's got teeth, and the shaft where the dial string is down there has a gear on the end of it that drives this thing. So that makes this nice. You can lift it up and you're not worried about screwing up the dial. So what I found out was that it seemed like the slider for the pointer, which is this plastic thing here, that may not be visible, real visible in this shot, wasn't, well, I don't know if it was on here right or not, but I've changed the way the dial string kind of wraps around it. I've taken this little piece that appears to be a coupler for the dial string to kind of hold it all together, and I've put it in the middle here behind one of the pegs on the back of the slider, and I've alternately wrapped the dial string around the other 2 pegs to keep tension on it. Let me try and zoom in here, see if we can get a better look at that. Okay, I think that's somewhat focused. Anyway, you can kind of see the string wrapping around one side of the peg, and then with the coupler right behind the middle peg, and then the string wrapped around the other side. The other thing that I did was I noticed that the plastic slider here, or slide bar, was sort of dry, especially towards the top. There was a little bit of grease down at the bottom that's probably settled there over time in use. And I kind of just spread some of it up and down the slide there to kind of lubricate everything. And now you can kind of see, as I tune the knob there, everything seems to be sliding correctly. But what I've also done while I've got this apart and accessible is I've taken and squirted some contact cleaner on the controls here and here, and then I'll do the same thing with the switches once I get the board back in place. These switches here, there's one there, and if I zoom out again, you can see there's another one up there. So after I put the circuit board in, I realized that the tuning indicator was not synced up with the actual tuner, meaning when I tuned to a station, the indicator was off a little bit. So the way that I fixed that, I wish I had kind of shown it as I did it, but basically I tuned to a station that I knew, which happened to be WTIC 1080, probably the closest station to here. And then I shut everything off, unplugged the radio, and I took the circuit board back off so that the dial string and mechanism was no longer engaged to that tuner wheel that I showed earlier. And then I just kind of slid the indicator and therefore the tuning dial kind of back to 1080 roughly, got everything lined up, and then put this back on again while carefully not turning the tuner at all. Just kind of got everything meshed back up, and that seemed to take care of it. Again, I wish I had shown it, but didn't have the camera on at the time. So anyway, I think that wraps this up. I'm just going to throw the back on here, and that's just a simple matter of lining up the tabs at the bottom and sliding this into place and putting the screws back in. Okay, I've got the radio back together. I think I've got it fairly well lined up now. There's the top of the band, and I believe that's 1600 ESPN radio or something like that around here. But if I tune down to a few stations that are local,
21 Christians
they're pretty close. Maybe not completely accurate, but close enough. That's I think that's 1360 WDRC out of Hartford. And then if I go down, that's 1250 WARE out of Ware, Mass. And then there's WTIC 1080 out of Hartford, Connecticut, which is probably the closest station to my location. And then down through the band,
You're supposed to learn that without
it's probably, well, I'm not sure down there.
But they did take
And
a
there's
shot
560 WHYN out of Springfield, Mass. And then down at the bottom of the dial. So I think everything is working good here. And I also cleaned all the controls, so they're all working the way that they should be now, with no static or anything like that. And there's FM. Tune around here. Let's see, that should be 96.5 WTIC out of Hartford. Or that's it, probably right there actually. So that's probably right where it should be. Try going up here. And that's probably 102.1 out of Springfield, Mass. And 104.1. I don't know if that's out of Glastonbury, Connecticut or somewhere. I don't know where their transmitters are. And then up through the band, it's probably WHCN, the river, not sure. But anyway, this seems like it's where it should be and seems to be working more or less normally now. I guess that just about does it for this repair. Hopefully this video was helpful or at least entertaining in some way, and thanks for watching.